The alligator waited in his favorite spot. He has many ambush spots, but this was his favorite. Deer love to cross here, sometimes hogs too. And the log. Everyone uses the log. Raccoons, possums, fox, bobcat, coyotes. All he has to do is knock them off and into the deep pool they go. Few ever escape.
Wait, I see something. A long, shiny body. Bigger than I want to deal with. But what's that? A deer-sized body climbing out onto the log. That's what I'm looking for. Now they're both on the log. The two bodies are wrestling with each other. Now the long, shiny body is sweeping the deer-sized body off the log. Into the water they both go, but the deer-sized body went completely under. Now is my chance. Few ever escape.
I am brimming with confidence. Why shouldn't I? Didn't I conquer the impassable Chalkers Swamp 2 years ago? The upper Ogeechee River from Georgia 102 near Mitchell to US 1 at Louisville. 50 miles that nobody canoed, and for good reason. There is one report of a kayaker who tried it. He bailed out after 6 hours of swamp frustration. Called the DNR, and rangers actually went in there and dragged him out and his gear. But I did all 50 miles in 4 days, unassisted, except my brother who camped nearby in case I got in trouble. So off I go, starting my adventure at noon Friday, February 16th, 2018. After a short, nice channel, I encounter what I would see for the next 3 days. A flooded swamp bottomland, often with no discernible main channel, or several channels. There are all imaginable forms of obstacles. Old logs, new storm-damaged trees blown across your path, a series of trees down, one after another. Sticks, stumps, and limbs, beaver dams, and on and on. But the most dreaded obstacle was the cypress knee hell. If your canoe won't fit between 'em, there's no way through. Getting through obstacles involved getting out and pulling over, going under, going through, cutting limbs and vines, using your paddle and push-pulling through the shallows, severely technical maneuvering, and for the mini portages, I used a rope bow line with a stick handle and dragged the fully loaded canoe. But the most important part was the decision making. The Ming Channel was either hard to discern or non existent. One map my brother found labeled the main channel, the county line, as indeterminate boundary. Right. You are constantly scrutinizing, analyzing, observing, assessing the swamp ahead. In some areas, the timber companies had blue marker paint on trees, marking their property line, often marking the main channel. You could see the blue paint through the woods. I also used the GPS with USGS topo maps and an overlay of a trail I observed using Google Earth. Whatever the circumstances, you need to decide quickly and correctly the best plan of action. Then execute without fretting or second guessing. Push on with a positive attitude. It was that push on determination that got me in a bit of trouble the second day, Saturday, after lunchtime. I was tired, hungry, strained. I knew I needed to stop for lunch and take a break. Just one more log, I kept saying. Then came the log. The canoe seemed twice as heavy, kept twisting sideways like it was wrestling with me. And splash, in I go, into that deep pool. I went completely under, didn't touch bottom, popped right up because I was wearing my life jacket. My leg bumped something, a log, stand on it, teetering for balance. There's the canoe, perfectly upside down. Grab it, roll it over, good. Right side up now, perfectly full of water. And there's all my gear, completely submerged inside my boat. There was no alligator laying in ambush at that spot that day. Don't know if one ever came up that far. But he would have had me right where he wanted me. In spite of waterproof bags and boxes, most of my stuff got damp, wet, or soaked. But not everything. My fire-making kit and BioLite stove were in the only truly waterproof box. My waterproof bags did a reasonable job considering how long they spent submerged, and nothing got ruined. I spent about an hour and a half at that spot, drying stuff out. I completely unpacked everything, strung clotheslines, hung everything out to dry. And for the next 5 days, I would be stringing clothesline at camp and drying stuff out. Only 2 things were not strapped in: my small fishing tackle box and my iPhone camera mount that I use to take video. I know where they are and where they're likely to stay. And my iPhone in my belt pouch was saved by a life-proof case. I recovered, ate lunch, even took a quick bath since I was already wet, felt great, and continued on. By the end of the day, Sunday, after 30 miles of river swamp, I estimate I went through at least 250 obstacles that I either pulled over, pushed under, pushed through, cut through, or portaged around. And that doesn't count the innumerable twists, turns, technical and difficult paddling maneuvers. By comparison, during 50 miles of the impassable Ogeechee Swamp, I had only 107 of those types of obstacles.
Probably want to be careful if I bathe in this water. That's a leech. Yeah, fun that is.
These videos were taken the first afternoon and the second morning. I was only able to video the easy places. It took too much concentration and effort to video the hard places, not to mention the threat of losing my iPhone getting through a tight spot. On one occasion, I was busy videoing and realized I was reaching a dead end in the trail. No apparent way through. Can't even tell which way I should be going. Time to pull out the GPS. Looks like I'm about 200 yards to the west of the real channel. I made a wrong turn because I wasn't paying near enough attention. That cost me much time and effort. I put the iPhone in my belt pouch and dropped the camera mount in the boat. A few hours later, I would lose that mount in a little capsizing event. From then on, I gave navigation and maneuvering my full attention. Enjoy a few more minutes of video of the easy part of the swamp.
Guess my tail end is dragging too much. That easy.
then came Monday morning. I had camped about halfway between Georgia 56 and Georgia 297. I only had one easy log pullover and a few snags easily negotiated that whole day. The Ohoopee was like a regular river. I began to relax, always ready for a fight with an obstruction, but enjoying some easy paddling. I could spend more time looking around, taking pictures, trying to sneak up on wildlife, listening to the sound of nature. No sounds of human activity, only occasionally the distant road or bridge. Bridges are particularly noisy. For that reason, I never camped closer than a mile from a bridge. The previous 3 swamp days, I paddled till 6 o'clock, set up camp, hung stuff out to dry, ate a Cliff Bar and sardines, filtered my water, and went to bed, and barely averaged 12 miles per day of long paddling. But now I'm paddling about 7 hours a day, making 16 miles, hitting camp about 3 or 4, and finally getting some stuff really dried out, enjoying river life without strain or struggle. Camp was simple, a bivouac really. In the swamp, just find a dry place, usually just big enough for me and my gear. During the rest of the trip, sandbars, although I would set up camp in the woods at the edge of the sandbar. I don't like camping on sand. Sand gets on and in everything. I saw wildlife, ducks mostly, deer, beaver, otter, turkeys, all kinds of birds. If you like trees as I do, they are in abundance. Not spectacular old-growth swamp-bottom forest like I saw in Ogeechee, but very nice bottomland. Ducks I jump constantly. Wood ducks mostly, but a lot of mergansers too. Deer I saw jumped and running. Beavers and beaver sign were ever present. Every night I was treated to the beaver welcoming committee of tail slapping the water all night long, just so I wouldn't get lonely or too much sleep. Turkeys roosting in trees in large flocks on the ground, running and flying in panic, yelping and cackling. Oh, and alligators, big alligators, sliding into the water from the banks. One particularly big gator slid into the water and swam straight down the middle of the river away from me. I tried to catch up to him, but couldn't. Then he paused, searching the flooded cypress swamp on the right for just the right spot, and in he went. I saw where he entered. When I caught up, I followed him in. Now, where did he go? Right here somewhere. Wait a minute. What am I doing? He was near as big as me in my canoe. He could be right under me right now. I think he's lured me into his favorite trap. Ease back out, carefully. Don't dip the paddle too deep. Whew, made it. No more chasing monster gators. I had high hopes for fishing on this trip. I even brought a pan, oil, and cornmeal, convinced I would have a fish fry at least every other night. But then I lost all my fishing gear. my hopes were dashed. All I had was my rod and a hook. I did look for worms, but the sandy soil just wasn't good worm habitat. Then my hunting buddy told me to keep a sharp lookout for lures snagged in trees and bushes. That gave me a new purpose: scan the riverbank shrubs for lures. I found very little. Apparently, Ohoopee fishermen are the most expert casters in all of Georgia. If I fished there regularly, the bushes would look like the fishing tackle aisle at Walmart. But I saw almost nothing. Then I found a small white plastic grub and a rusty hook. What a treasure! That evening at camp, I caught the only fish I would catch. I had my fish fry. It was awesome, but small. I continued fishing with that lure, but no luck. There were many structures along the Ohoopee, from old collapsing shacks to magnificent homes, some solitary, some in clusters, some currently lived in, but I never saw a soul or heard any activity, except at one campsite, a nice secluded sandbar. I set up camp and decided to take a much needed bath. While drying off, I heard a noise. Is that a school bus? Yup, just a couple of 100 yards through the woods across the river. It stopped, then moved on. I better get dressed. Then another school bus stops and then moves on. But I never heard or saw kids or anything else, thankfully, but was reminded that I may not be as secluded as I think I am. Then there was the old fish shack with a couple of 55-gallon drums for trash cans, both full to overflowing with Bud Natural Light beer cans, and piles of Natural Light all over the place. Not old cans, they were shiny, clean as new. Somebody comes down here. And for the next 2 days after that spot, every snag and strainer had at least one Natural Light can in it. But most of the river was clean and unlittered, the banks and the water. That last day of travel, I was determined to camp on the Altamaha River by day's end. It was 22 river miles away when I got up early Thursday morning. The only major obstacle was the Highway 56 dam. I couldn't find out much info about the dam before my trip, except that you can ride through a cut in the middle of it or portage around it. Already experienced the capsizing, so I'm gonna portage. But when I got there, I couldn't find a portage trail. The western side had a 10-foot high remnant of the old dam blocking it. The east side was about 150 yards of steep bank, thick woods, and briars. Well, sounds good to me, so after getting all scratched up, I got around the dam, and good riddance. The river continues to widen and slow down. It slowed to nearly a standstill when I approached the Altamaha River Oxbow.
Well, there it is. I'm just about to cross the line where the Ohoopee ends and the Oxbow Altamaha begins. It's right here. Right there. That is the Altamaha, and that's the Ohoopee. Wow. Looks like a flooded forest to me. But that's the way I'm going to have to go, right there. I've made it. 100 miles. Woo!
And I made it. The Oxbow is overgrown with willow and birch and some cypress, nearly closing in at places.
Continuing down the Oxbow, and you can see it's a tremendous amount of flooded woods. It's actually willow that's grown out into the Oxbow. And birch and water plants. This is the county park and boat ramp, campground. There's the boat ramp. There's the rest of the park. Nothing here.
Then the Altamaha proper.
And now I'm coming out of the Oxbow and meeting the Altamaha River proper. And it looks like I'm going to see the first people I've seen in 7 days. So from swamps, forests, and little bitty creeks to this expanse. Wow, I feel kind of small out here.
The current in the river was substantial. Only by sticking close to the shore could I make it upstream to a sandbar. It was magnificent, wide open sky after all the closed-in woods and swamp. Beautiful sunset. I would get up early Friday morning to catch my ride home at the Tatnall County boat ramp. But for now, I'm basking in the beauty and serenity of this awesome place.
Well, it looks like I'm just gonna have to camp here. Another sandy beach, but this time I'm actually camping on the beach. That's the mighty Altamaha. Because behind me is kind of a swamp and a mess, and I don't want to trudge through any of that, and it doesn't look good over there anyway. So here I am, 100 miles from Wrightsville, a little sunburned, but other than that, no worse for the wear.
An epic end to an epic journey.